Do you see that belly that the Canadian FTM one has? And if you take notice on the area of where their chest is, kind of where the nipple is, it's very blurry. The second to the last, do you see how you can hardly even see the nipple? It's probably been blasted with so much surgery and scars that now you can't even see it. But if you look at the last person, you can see some of the scarring right underneath the nipple, those set of lines, because that's where they remove fat. They remove fat from where the area of where the armpit is, and then all they have to do is seal it up, and that's where they usually get tattoos. You can kind of see the line on the second person, the Canadian one. I'm saying it has like a pregnant belly or something. You can kind of see it here on this picture. And a lot of these FTMs, they have like this bobblehead looking body because of all the vitamins they take to appear to look big. And it makes them look like a bobblehead, but they all have small shoulders, botched up boobs that appear to look like man chest, but they're not. And their six packs are like CGIs or surgeries, little T-Rex arms and small feet, soft ankles, soft hands. And they have this smile on their face and soft stare. And this one doesn't stay behind. This is the biggest FTM of them all. And if there is any real men that have joined this thing, they're just doing rituals on him, absorbing any man that he has left in him so that these FTMs can receive it. And they do the same thing to women because these are MTFs. These are young, castrated, melanated boys that have been castrated. That's why they have long arms and fake boobs. They rather have you lusting over skinny black girls because the curvaceous melanated girls are looked more as in for the rappers to disrespect and call them hoes, because it's more easier for them to trick you using skinny ones, because all they have to do is give the skinny boys a few surgeries and some estrogen vitamins and they'll trick you, because as soon as you see some boobs and belly button, you think it's a female. That's how lustful people are. And the same thing with girls. As soon as you see some muscles, you think that's a guy. Oh, you are so greatly mistaken. Stop being tricked by these inverts. They'll straight hit you with the lustfulness. But if you pay attention and look at the details when they weren't ready, you will start seeing the small details that are trying to tell you and alarm you of what they are. So like right here in this picture, they were ready for it, so they posed. They weren't ready on this one. And look at, you can see the manly futures on this one. They get long arms when they get castrated. And their chest always has this weird shape in between the boobs. They never end up getting a real man chest. It's like a botched up boob. A lot of these brown young boys come from psyops that they ran on them when this government sends pedophiles into sanctuary cities to rape and molest boys that come from bad families. Instead of helping these families out, what they do is they'll psyop on those children and invest in the psyop so that these children end up inverting themselves or wanting to invert themselves by the time they hit their teens. And the bad people are there just waiting for them to invest on their boob jobs, and they get these long arms, these exaggerated long arms, and the FTMs get this weird shape in between their boobs, their botched up boob man chest. That's what this is. And they're going to keep getting kicked out of every other country because they have that Babylonian mentality. Even though they're using the truth and mixing it with spirituality, these people are inverts. And they're laughing at their own people by tricking them. All for what? So from the carbonation, I believe that this Canadian guy here, FTM, is probably the one that's popping out children. It seems to have a C-section scar here, but they don't want it to look like a C-section, so they just kind of throw you off and they'll do the C-section maybe on the side. And another thing that I wanted to bring up before I start editing it, just to keep an eye out, when I do transvestigation videos on FTMs, this scar always comes up, and I wish people would know the same way that I do so that they can have the same reassurance that I do that it's an FTM. I haven't edited this picture yet, but as you can see right above the chest, there's a line right across that starts from here all the way across to the other side of the boob area. And this is the scar that basically it's opened up to remove a lot of the fat from the boobs. And then once the boob is flattened down because the fat is removed, then the scar is sealed up and you can see the line right here, and it's the go-to scar to find out if it's an FTM, and this one has it. And then the bottom of the boobs never look like an actual chest. If anything, it has a weird line in between the boobs. It ends up getting a weird scar and formation right here, right in between. And do you see the gap between the six-pack, the fake six-pack, and the boobs? That small gap? That's how you know that it's plastered six-pack, surgery six-pack. This thing didn't actually work out for it. It was plastered on its body. And yeah, I'm gonna edit right now and just keep an eye on this part. That line that you see across the chest, you're gonna see it again. So we're going to edit it now. And these two lovebirds, it almost looks like they're holding hands, isn't it? But here we go. Natural. So we can pick up the value, or we can decrease the value because the value is only edited and it's fake. So what happens when we take off the value is we start seeing the real. So you see, when you add value, you just keep adding more volume to the fake editing they did to the body. So what we do in this case is we bring the value down. Bring the value down. And we choose that. And now we can focus on the shadows and highlights. On this part, I always go to the highlights first because you won't get shadows until you decrease the highlight, and the highlight comes from the fake LED light. So we're going to decrease the LED light. You don't get that much difference only from the sun and the sky, but it's still good to take it off and let's see what you get from it, because the shadows will appear better now. See that line that I was telling you about? Now we can raise up the contrast so I can show you that line that I was telling you. Bring up the brightness too, not too much, but you see, there it is. Keep Nature Boy in prison. Anti-P. But you know, they are masters at double speaking, and you can see the man back on this person over the fake, over inflated fake boobs that's plastered over the man torso. Do you see how it's holding sandals in between its legs? Real girls will feel so uncomfortable holding something in between their legs like that. But it's probably maybe used to having something in between its legs. So it's used to it. So it's holding sandals in between its legs, I guess. Very feminine like. And they all have this laugh like they're laughing at you. They're not laughing that they're having fun. They're laughing at you. Stop being so lustful and thinking that just because you see boobs and skin that it's a female. This is why ugly girls get their way, because they show skin. If it's not ugly girls, then they're boys. Laughing at you. that's just a fake six-pack right there. It could be CGI. Do you see the pair of botched up boobs? Now that six-pack can be either CGI six-pack, or it could just be like a surgery six-pack.